Evan, and is with me as always is Trey.
Yes, I am Trey, and with me I got Shane Gayu 11. We are back with another edition of the West Coast Podcast, coming to you guys a few weeks after Thanksgiving, or a week rather, and we hope that all you guys had a good Thanksgiving, hung out with family, eat some good food, all that good stuff, and we got the holiday season rapidly approaching, so. We appreciate you guys for being here. We appreciate you guys for continuing the support on both Shane and myself's channel. And Shane's been doing his thing. He's been posting tip videos. He's been playing some of the top players in the world, so not Gucci. He got a game in with him, so all things going on with that. But Shane, how are you doing? How's it been going this last few weeks? And give the people an update on the tournaments that you got going on. So
Appreciate it, Trey. Yeah, honestly, I know I haven't streamed in like I think a week and a half, but that mainly is because I've been trying to lab things and figure things out off stream. So that's basically the reason why after this weekend I will be back streaming daily Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So got tournaments this weekend. Hopefully I win and keep moving on. I did play So Not Gucci though. I really should have beat him, and I screwed up. I made the mistake at the 1 yard line. If you can't score 4 times from the 1 yard line, that's your fault. Timeouts or no timeouts, you need to punch it in. But that just shows that like it was a hell of a good game, and I can hang with anyone as long as I lock in. Obviously, there is matchups for better, for worse. Like obviously back in the day, I matched up really well with Serious Mo, but didn't match up well versus Skimbo at all. But no, yeah, I've basically been doing that, and then basically when MCS is done in mid-January, I'm just gonna be doing small tournaments for the rest of the year off of the PlayStation. Just try to build cash up, so maybe I can get like four, five, $600 set up for the drop of Madden 26 plus the money I want to spend anyways. Because come Madden 26, Trey, like I've told you and we've talked on this podcast, I will be streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Or, I mean, excuse me, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the evening, late evening, about between 10 and 10:30 till about 12 a.m. And then on Fridays, I'll take it off, except, when we do the podcast, Trey. So, again, I will put a schedule out, but it is starting to look like Monday through Thursday next year around 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. till 12 a.m. I will be streaming with all consistency, and then Fridays I'll be off except when we do the podcast. But yeah, Thanksgiving was really good. Went to my brother's house with my parents and all that. Ate some good food, hung out for a while. What about you, Trey? How's your Thanksgiving?
it was pretty good. Hung out with the family, obviously. I watched football. I got to see a coach that made a critical decision that got fired. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. Matt Eberflus got fired over the abysmal clock management situation that he occurred. Shane, I wanted to get your opinion on this because it is people in the Madden community specifically, the top level players say, they pride themselves on clock management. I personally don't think it's that important. I mean, it's important, don't get me wrong, and obviously, mismanagement, it'll definitely lead you to get fired if not you're in the hot seat. But, what was kind of your impressions on that whole thing that went down? And do you think that Caleb Williams, after having this, has the opportunity to get back? Because at the same time, he didn't really even play that well. So, what was your whole takeaway with that?
You know, the head coach is always the fall guy, right? Especially if you have somebody who you want to get your future behind, right? Or if they're a superstar, like in the NBA or anywhere. So for me, honestly, it is part Caleb's fault too. I mean, he could have thrown it out of bounds. He could have. hiked the ball and just like spiked it. Like I mean, I believe he threw like a deep ball and it went incomplete with no time left. I mean, you got to be aware just as much as anyone else. And like, yeah, he obviously wasn't coaching well enough, but at the same time, some onus has to be on Caleb Williams. I mean, wouldn't you think so, Trey?
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, and I get what you're saying about how the head coach is a fall guy and all that, and I mean, at the same time, you also have to take into consideration that this guy's a rookie. And you talk about the head coach, I don't really know what the head coach's responsibilities are. From my understanding, they don't really call offensive plays, they don't call defensive plays, and obviously they probably have a lot on the table, but when you talk about, them being in game, obviously they're probably communicating with the offense, defense, special teams, but I mean, wouldn't you think that when you have a coach like that's probably one of his responsibility? Like, shouldn't he have went to Caleb Williams and say, hey, this is a situation we have to be quick, we have to throw it out of bounds. So, I mean, in saying that, do you think that it's probably more on the coach?
I mean, yeah, yes. Like I said, probably like I mean, probably like 75%. Like personally, for me, like 75% on the coach there because like you did make a good point. He is a rookie. Actually forgot about it until you said it. But like 25% still on Caleb Williams. He sees the clock. He sees the time running down. Like I don't know if he panicked or what, but like it's I mean he could have still been like hiking threw it out of bounds, like ran out of the pocket, threw it out of bounds. I mean, so yes, the majority is on the head coach strictly because he's a rookie, Trey.
All right, yeah, and I definitely would agree with you on that. And I've never been like the whole like, oh, this one play lost the game, this one play won the game, because at the end of the day, I mean, it's kind of like Madden, right? Like you're only gonna remember the play that you say you got cheated on, but in the heat of the moment, but when you went back and you think, oh well, if I would have just played better throughout the whole game, then it would have never had to come down with that play. So I think we're on the same page on that. But touching on since we're on the controversial side of the NFL, Shane, I'm sure one of the most hot topics out right now is the hit on Trevor Lawrence. So it was a divisional game between the Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has had a tough year. The Jags have had a tough year. Really, the entire AFC South has been having a tough year. You have a play where Trevor Lawrence slides, he gets hit, and is pulled for the remaining of the game. Shahir, I forgot who the linebacker's name, and come to find out, he has a lot of skeletons in his closet about dirty plays. This wasn't his first rodeo. And, you have some people that are saying, Trevor kind of slid late. Trevor, you, slid late, and that's why, he got fit. And then the NFL upheld the suspension, so the suspension is still alive and going. So, Shane, give me your take on the controversial situation with Trevor Lawrence.
Um, I thought it was dirty, bro. But at the same time, they're gonna have to figure out things because like Patrick Mahomes' favorite thing is to act like he's almost gonna slide or go out of bounds and then keep running. And the problem is if they lay him out, he gets a penalty. If they don't, he can continue running. They're gonna have to figure it out on what they want to do with that because yes, it is a little bit trouble, a little bit interesting on how they're gonna interact with that. But I thought it was pretty cheap how he hit Trevor Lawrence because he was clearly going down, and like you said, it's not his first rodeo. But I did like how the Jacksonville Jaguar players stuck up for him, Trey.
Yeah, I would probably be in the same boat with you. Like, for the people that say it wasn't a dirty hit, I think I kind of agree with them as far as like the grand scheme of things because, and I cringe every time you see a quarterback that's going to the sideline and he kind of, haphazardly steps out of bounds. And for any quarterbacks out there that do it, why don't you talk about Drew Bledsoe on what happened to him when He's playing the Jets and then he kind of goes out of bounds like haphazardly and he almost dies. Like a lot of people don't even realize that not only did his career he was able to bounce back, but he lost his job, but he also almost died because of it. So when that I do agree with the overarching point of that. And if I had to build my perfect NFL, what I would do is you would be protected in the pocket, right? So anything that happens in the pocket, if you leave the pocket, you are fair game. Like you don't get treated any different than any other player if you leave the pocket. That's on you. Like all bets are off. What about you, Shane? What do you think would be like your ideal rules going forward with the quarterbacks?
I mean that is really fair, Trey. I mean, I actually think that it might stop some stuff because if you're in the pocket, you're a QB, right? You're protected a little bit more than anyone else. And once you leave the pocket, you're fair game. And like they're like, well, other players give themselves up, gave themselves up. Like let's say Tyler Lockett, and they don't hit him, but he catches the ball and falls down, right? Like the problem now is like you said, Patrick Mahomes for once. Like I'm not trying to harp on him, but he is famous to on doing it, and it causes issues because let's say I'm going to blow him up, right, or I'm going to tackle him, and he looks like he's starting to give himself up. I stop, he runs by me for 20 more yards, kicks the field goal, they win. But if I blow him up, I'm going to get the 15-yard penalty there in field goal range. They kick it and they win. So I actually like your idea, Trey, a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. And plus, like, if you're an NFL quarterback, I think it's reasonable to assume that you should be good enough to make the throws that you need to make in the pocket. Like, I think that's a fair assessment. Not to hate on people that are dynamic and that like to run around a little bit, but at the same time, if you're an NFL quarterback, you should be able to make the throws that you need to make within the structure of the pocket. And that's kind of like, and even when like Tom Brady, and I think that was even like a sentiment with Tom Brady because people would say, oh, Tom Brady, he gets all this calls, this and that, but a lot of the calls that he got was in the pocket. And I think the NFL even back then they kind of called it like that, like they were more protective in the pocket because they didn't expect quarterbacks to kind of leave it back then. So, but it's going to be interesting to see, with the whole backlash and how the NFL goes. And Shane, like, do you ever can you see a day honestly? And I know this is kind of like a controversial thing that you would hear you know kind of on Twitter and like these spaces, but do you think you could ever see a day where it just progressively gets to the point to where we might see flag football in a couple years if this kind of continues?
I sure hope not because I won't be watching. I'll tell you that right now, and I think at least half of the world won't be watching. The reason why people watch it is because you see grown men hitting each other like train wrecks, right? They hit each other like train wrecks. That's how hard it is, or car crashes. I mean, so I understand you don't want CTE like a lot of my players growing up that I watched in the early 90s and late 90s. I mean, they had tons more concussions and the some of them had CTE where their brain looked like Swiss cheese. So on that, like I'm glad that they take away the crown of the helmet hitting and all that stuff. But at the same time, that's why you can't break down who's better by decade because specifically in the NFL, the 2020s look vastly different than the 1990s, right? I mean, some of the wide receivers and the QBs in the 90s would have looked much better than nowadays. Some of the cornerbacks on the flip side will look much worse nowadays than in the 90s because they couldn't grab and hold and shove and all that. Like, so for me, I mean, I don't ever really think that it'll get where it's flag football, Trey, but I do think that they need to figure out the QB situation. And like I said, I really like the idea of once they leave the pocket, it's fair game.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, we're talking about, the NFL, and we'll get to more because I do want to get into the MVP discussion. That's another thing that I kind of have a take on. So, but kind of getting back to because we are approaching the Christmas season. Thanksgiving just happened. Now we're about a few weeks from Christmas. And Shane, I wanted to ask you: are you a big decorator when it comes to Christmas? Do you like putting decorations up, decorating the tree, and all that? And kind of what's your tradition when it comes to Christmas time?
I really have fallen in love with Halloween. I know like it's not everybody's forte, but like if I was in a house in a neighborhood, I'd probably decorate outside, put stuff out front. And I think as I've gotten older, I'd do it for like Christmas as well. I've changed a lot in that situation of like where I wouldn't have when I was in my 20s to now I want to and I want to do that one time in my life. But no, for like Christmas, usually we haven't put the tree up yet, which is really bad of us. But we have a little one running around. We'll probably do it next week sometime, so it'll be probably the 10th, and then it'll stay up until like probably January 7th or 8th. But usually, yeah, we turn Christmas music on. We get hot cocoa and like marshmallows, and we decorate. That's what basically we do, Trey.
Yeah, that's very nice. And you brought up hot cocoa, and I don't know what it is, but it's like I've never been a fan of like even coffee or hot cocoa like you mentioned, but like to me like when I drink something like it has to be cold. And I know that there's like iced coffee and I'm still not a fan of that or nothing, but like are you a big coffee kind of guy or not really? No.
Nah, bro, I hate coffee. Like I can't stand coffee. I don't know what it is, but I don't like coffee. And honestly, I prefer cold drinks as well over hot drinks, Trey. Like lots of times I'll put my water bottles. I haven't for like a year or so, but most I used to a lot. I mean, for like most of my life, put water bottles in the freezer, and then right when they get like that ice inside them, and you can crunch them and break them up, so it's super cold. I like to do that, and like I probably drink hot chocolate maybe once or twice a year, but it's a tradition that my wife and my kids do. So I that's why I generally do it then. But no, I'm usually cold drinks. I prefer cold drinks.
All right, we got two cold drinkers on the podcast. So we're getting into Madden. We're a solid 5 to 6 months into Madden. We got the zero chill that's coming up, and Shane, I want to know because I know MCS is kind of stopping, but since you brought up the fact that you might do more tournaments, and I think even last year you were pretty involved till the end of the year as far as Ultimate Team goes. So for this Zero Chill promo, is it something that you're looking forward to, and is it something that you're going to be participating in? You got to get the snowflakes, and you also got to make sure you accumulate the presents that are going to be coming out.
Well, Trey, Zero Chill came out I believe yesterday, and yeah, so it's out there. So basically, like you and I talked about this a little bit on text message. The Team Diamonds came out, I believe. Oh, they came out last week. That's right. They came out last week, and 95s were basically like a few $100s. No lie. Unless you were lucky, which was a 20% chance pack rate, um, for $50, then it was literally like it was a lot, Trey. Like it was really a lot. It was like a few hundred, I believe, because a lot of the pros at least were pissed off in the Discord and talking about like it cost them so much, almost $1,000 for Team Diamond, yada yada. And then they kept one, then they didn't keep another. Like you could only have two players. Well, so here is where it all out. It's kind of hilarious to me now, but they brought out Zero Chill yesterday, right? So they dropped basically. Team Diamonds went from. I'll actually show people on here. It went from like 5.5 million, almost 6 million um for Vince Young. And once Zero Chill came out, the prices tanked. So it went from like a three to $500 card to 2.75 million trays. So it's even dropped even more than I thought. It's not even 3.5 million. It's at 2.74. So now it's a couple $100 card instead of like a $500 card or $400 card. I can't remember exactly what it is, Trey. It's like I think it's like $110 per million coins or something. At least that's what they had it on the breakdown. So I'm not entirely sure, Trey, on that, but it's like 100 or $110 right now for a million coins, and so it was like a $500 card. And then they came out with Zero Chill yesterday, and it kind of tanked the market. So the only issue is like people probably should have waited. I probably should have waited to try to not get the Team Diamonds. You know what I mean? Because I forgot last weekend there was no single elimination because of the Thanksgiving holiday. So most people should have waited. So myself and a lot of pros kind of did that, and now like most people have switched to Zero Chill, Trey. Like I have Zero Chill players with my 95 card, and it's really wild. Like my Jalen Ramsey's a 97, bro, because that's a Zero Chill chemistry, and then it has like it's like souped up until January 9th.
All right, so Shane's big balling over there. He's got the new Jalen Ramsey. There was a new C.J. Stroud that came along, and I think Humphrey or something, another corner that came out as well. So Zero Chill is in full effect. It is one of EA's biggest promos of the year. So with all that being said, we'll see how EA Sports will handle this. Um, you got these new players. Have you got a chance to test out the new Jalen Ramsey yet, or are you kind of holding up until you actually play with them in the tournaments?
You know, I mean, I basically played a lot today, bro. Like I used the tight end that Zero Chill. He's all right to me. Like for a lot of people, he's awesome because he's like 95 speed or 96 speed. I don't know how to say his name. Fine, I'm fine. The tight end for the Browns. I apologize, you guys. I also have my whole offensive line right now is Zero Chill because they all get chemistry. So like they're 90 overall, but they're 93 right now, souped up. Then I have the center who's a 97 overall. He's usually a 94. And then I got CD Lamb, which is like 93 overall, and right now he's like a 95 overall, but he has like 97 speed. And for the people that can afford like everyone, CD Lamb's a 99 for him. So the game totally changed. Jalen Ramsey's really good because I put deep out KO on him for 3 AP. For 0 chill until January 9th, they're all 0 AP for the last like little block. So you can get a lot of cool stuff with them. But once January 9th comes out, a lot of 0 chill is going to be worthless. So my plan is probably January 6th or 7th, I will get rid of them, or I might even get rid of like my offensive line besides the center, like December 22nd or 23rd, because like I said, they're going to be worthless and they're all going to lose that Zero Chill chemistry and they're going to drop down to like 90 and 92 and stuff like that. But excuse me, it is crazy though, Trey, how I don't know. It like Zero Chill, like you don't need as much money, but you still need to spend money. Like don't get it twisted. But it is more attainable than the Team Diamonds. The Team Diamonds were just a little shady, but it is what it is. Like I mean, you either play in the MCS or you don't, right? It sucks. Don't get me wrong. It sucks. It really does. Like, but it is what it is. If you want to compete, you have to do that. But no, so yeah, like I said, my plan is to do. I know MCS ends like mid January, but my plan is to just do small PlayStation tournaments from mid January daily until probably June, and then take a couple month break until the new Madden comes out. But probably still in like July, I want to do, or all of June and all of July. I'd love to do Fall Guys with like you and stream it if you want to. But like, so from basically like mid January to like June 1st, I'll be doing the small PlayStation tournaments, trying to build up as much money as I can.
Yeah, no doubt. And talking about the smaller tournaments that are going to be going on, and obviously they're kind of a whole separate system. You play for money. I mean, it's not much money at all, or at least it was last year. Maybe it'll kind of go up again. So because in these tournaments are ultimate teams, so when you're doing MCS, that kind of takes away your whole mud. I mean, unless you're spending money because you don't get rewards from playing in MC. Or yeah, I might be wrong on that. I don't know for 100% sure if you get anything or not. But my question to you on that is it difficult to play in these tournaments and also kind of grind the game and get the rewards, or do you think you still play enough, like, ranked online to where you're still able to get the rewards and play the tournaments at the same time, if that makes sense?
No, no, no. I think I understand what you mean. If I'm wrong, correct me. No, I do enough like the 20 games for the MUT champions or whatever. I get that in almost every week. But it's not a lot of coins unless you go 16 and 0, and like I haven't gone 16 and 0. The gauntlet's really good to get a lot of coins, but like that literally is like the top 100 to 200 players doing that every weekend because it's only on weekends. So I've only been able to do it like a couple times because usually I'm busy on weekends. So for me, like you got to spend money, right? You got to spend money. For most people, I believe you have to spend money. Even the top 100, they spend money, but then they also win a lot on like rank. So I'm not going to take away from that, but like I still know some of the top players have spent a couple grand to 3 grand on it. So it's a little bit of both. Like you can build up coin if you're really good, not like where you could buy a whole team, if that makes sense, but you could buy like a couple players if you win a lot. But basically like I think last year I ended up, I don't remember what it was, Trey, on those small tournaments. I think I made like $100 playing it. But if I figure if I can start from mid January to June daily and I can win maybe a couple of them a day, I can make like 500-600 come early June. That'd be great. Plus they're supposedly coming out with that Super Bowl tournament again for PlayStation 5 people. Hopefully, I don't get hosed if I make it again. So it'll be interesting to see if they fix that issue.
Yeah, so they're doing the Super Bowl tournament, and just make sure that you do in fact register and read the fine print on all that. And I was pumped up for that tournament because I was like, well, hey, I was thinking, well, maybe he'll bring me if he wins, but I was thinking, at that point in time, especially like for it being kind of the end of the year almost, I felt like you were playing pretty well. So, do you think that last year you were kind of better at the end of year than you have been like most other years where you were pretty good at the start, but then it kind of phased off towards the end.
That is really fair. Yeah. I felt like I got hosed by that tournament last year. I mean, I think there's only 32 players left and the first place guy made it. So I think I would only had to win like 3 or 4 games, and I mean, a lot of people didn't know about it. So like the elite of the elite players didn't know about it last year. So they're very good players. There was a top 300 or top 200 player, but I felt like I was playing really well. I was really playing well towards the end of last year. I was comfortable. This year, I don't think I'm as good as last year, but I think I'm still good enough. And it's weird. It's kind of like flip flop, Trey. Like usually, like you said, I'm usually better at the start of the year through mid year, and then at the end I taper off. The last couple years, I've been a little worse at the start of the year and gotten better by the end of the year, and I don't understand fully why. I don't know if it's just because I see the same plays over and over, so I adjust well, or if I get better players, so the scheme helps me. I'm not entirely sure, but like I feel like I've gotten a little bit better towards middle end of the year this year, just like last year. Except last year, I think I was a step above than this year.
No, that makes sense for sure. Since we're talking about Madden, a new patch came out. I actually didn't get a chance to watch the video yet, so I'm not 100% sure what they patched. So if you could kind of fill the people in on what they patched and if you noticed anything different that went on, and also, I always have to plug this. If you guys want to stay up to date with any patches that come out on both College Football 25 and also Madden, Shane's got you covered on that. As soon as the new patch comes out, he's Johnny on the spot with getting you guys the updates on everything.
And look at that. Trey should be the commercial for me. Uh, no, the patch was really small, Trey. It was like stability and like lag issues. And other than that, they didn't do anything else. And when I've played it today, I don't notice a damn thing different, to be honest. So it was like for me, it was just stability and lag issues. Um, the gameplay is still the same. The only like they also fixed the auction house. That's what else they did. Because if you were trying to type in the auction house, sometimes if you hit 94 overall, they'd bring you to 90 overall, and sometimes when you're looking for 90 overall, it'd bring you to 93, 94 overall. So that was another thing they fixed, but it was pretty damn small on that overall, though, Trey.
Yeah, what's funny is that I actually did notice that, like what you were saying about the auction house. So yeah, I guess that's fixed now. And obviously the MCS kind of plays a role in it because if there's a tournament that's coming out, they're not, if they do put out a patch, people are gonna kind of lose their s if it's like a big patch that's going to affect their game, even though supposedly they're supposed to be professionals and are supposed to adjust. But what do I know? So do you think that it's almost kind of the way that they do patches is like, well, we don't want to do a patch because the pros are going to get upset, and it's like kind of after the Super Bowl, no one kind of cares, and they just kind of assume that everyone's kind of not playing Madden anymore. So, do you think with like it being kind of all year round, pretty much, that they might try to keep consistent with like the patches, or do you think it's going to be kind of the same going forward?
I don't think they really. I mean, I think they try to work around the MCS when they patch things up. Sometimes they still patch things up uh, right before the tournament, which a lot of them lose their mind and all that stuff. I think that there will be like maybe one or two big patches left after the middle of January, and then from the spring to summer, it'll just be small ones. But like I said, sometimes they sneak in a big one to change the game up in the spring and summer to see what people's feedback are on for the future Madden games. So they could do that as well. My personal opinion, they really need to stretch out the MCS. Like it shouldn't be done January 11th for 95% of the MCS players. It really shouldn't. What they should do is what they did, like I don't remember what it was, Trey, like 3, 4 years ago, where it went till March, and then in early April was the Madden Bowl, and then you had all of May, all of June, and all of July to do whatever you want. Like now, I mean, it's done by July 11th for, like I said, 95% of the people, and then you have February, March, April, May, June, July. You have 6 months where you're not playing Madden. I just don't think it's a very good look for EA.
Do you have any like because I know you know someone, so do you have any like knowledge or not, maybe not even knowledge, but just kind of thoughts on why it is they don't have MCS past February? Because I mean we're talking about the patches, and I think that EA, like when you have these competitive tournaments, it's a good source for that because if you can look at a game and say, okay, well, this guy on the other side, he's running the same blitz over and over again. That might be something we have to patch. But if they're not having these tournaments, then how do they know? How do they know what something needs to be patched or not? Because it's not like they really go on Twitter and like listen to people. So I want to get from your perspective on why do you think it is that they don't kind of spread it out throughout the whole year?
That's a good question. What's up, Rose? Hey, she said it's the best podcast past Central Time on YouTube. Yes, damn straight. Yes, Skursky. Um, I have heard it is because they believe it's built around just the excuse me, I'm still getting over this. What I have been kind of told is they build it around the NFL season. They want to be done when the NFL season's done, and then they can work on the next game at their leisure, which to me causes a lot of conflict because they should stretch it out. They should keep the game going. But I also know that they have certain people playing on accounts through about spring to see what blitzes are still working and what they can see from that, and then they add notes to it. Plus, they do ask a lot of the YouTubers and streamers what they think as well, Trey. So that's what I think they want it to be done around the NFL season ending so they can work on the next Madden and take a break. And they believe the revenue dies off, and then they have people playing it on tags where you wouldn't know it. I'll just leave it at that so they can see what is working still and what people want fixed. And that's why you sometimes get a patch or two after the MCS that is big. So that's where I'm at on it, Trey.
Yeah, no, that's actually pretty interesting. I mean, the fact that you could be just kind of chilling, playing the game, and you find something kind of degenerative to play in the game, and then you match up against an EA development, and then they take notes, and then you're patched. So and if what you're saying is true about how they build the game towards the NFL season, then that to me just shows how disconnected EA Sports is from Madden because it's not even just Madden. It's like gaming in general. I mean, you have video games are like 24/7 now. I mean, this isn't like 2005, 2007 where you pick up a game, you play it for 10 hours, and then you move on to the next thing, the next game coming out. It's like, the whatever game that you play these days, that's the game that you're connected in throughout the whole year. And it's like, for me, I think if they say it like that, just make Ultimate Team kind of its separate thing and make it free, kind of like how Fortnite is. And so you have Ultimate Team on one side, and then like the franchise mode and the superstar mode. That then you can charge full price for that. You can make it $60 and have like two separate games on that. But if that's the reason, to me that just shows kind of how disconnected that EA Sports is. But I kind of figured that out. Um, so we got the patches covered and all that. But Shane, what are you most excited about? Kind of going forward. MCS is kind of at an end. So, and I mean, I know you kind of went over your plan about Fall Guys and things of that nature. But are you looking to? So you said that next year is probably what you're going to aim to get back into the reg side of things and like money and all that, right? Is that still your plan?
Yeah, that is correct. Really quick, yeah, Rose said it's built around the season as well, her guess, and she's right on that. And they don't test their own games, so they have other people do their shady work because they go off what somebody said. That's pretty much correct. Like, that's why sometimes you'll play a guy and they'll quit right away, and you think that they're sucking, but they want to see certain things. That's all I'm going to say on that part. Not everyone, but there's certain things. So, anyways, yeah, Trey. So here's what my game plan is next year. Like I said, Monday through Thursday night, either 10 or 10:30 p.m. Pacific time till 12 a.m. There will always be a stream. Every other Friday will be our podcast. I will be doing MCS. I'll be doing Mutt, and then during the day, off and on, I'll be streaming as well, like I do now. So you might get double the streams, double the pleasure, no pause, and no. But so like next year when MCS ends, let's say I'm done when MCS ends in mid January. I will probably play Mutt until late February on trying to see if I want to build money up. And then my plan was from like March to July doing money games on regs. That's where we are right now, at least, Trey.
Yeah, no doubt, and it's crazy to think that and I know I kind of did it with you up until a certain point, but you did CFM for a while, and if people that are watching aren't familiar with kind of the whole Madden lingo of things, CFM is a franchise mode for anyone that's wondering. I kind of have to clear that up because sometimes we're like on here we're talking about mud, we're talking about regs, and there's some people that play Madden, but they're not really hip to the lingo that's been going on. So I feel like I kind of have to explain that from time to time. So the CFM, and with you being kind of a busy guy, I mean that's like a big investment. I mean it's kind of even fantasy football kind of really. So is CFM? I know there's not a whole lot of money CFMs that go on. Um, so, is CFM something that you would ever consider getting back into if the right opportunity were to arise?
I'm not entirely sure on that anymore, Trey. I know there's some CFMs that are like big money for like the top pros, but like they literally some of them put like $500 to $700 in their CFM teams, and I'm just not going to do that. Like I'm not rich, I can't do it for Ultimate Team and then CFM, and then also do money games. So, and like I said, it was a little bit of hassle when we did it last time when you joined and all that stuff. I mean, like I said, I did really good, and then I beat the owner, and then he quit out, and then kicked me out because I beat him. That's really what it was. And then the only way I could play is if I played a money game against him, and then I found out that he had like Wesley playing me, so something like that. And then we're fine with each other, we're cordial with each other, but like even a lot of the pros aren't even doing as many tournaments this year because supposedly I think we talked about this last time, but like supposedly on Mutt, Players Lounge and Gamer Saloon are like challenge or charging like 25 plus bucks a tournament. And then even like on the other ones, I'm not going to say their names, but the other ones that were really popular last year and the year before, they're starting to charge way too much as well. And this is not just from me, this is from the people that used to play them all the time. They were cool doling out like $10, $15 entries, but some of these ones are getting between like 25 to $50 entries. And even though like a lot of people that lost and didn't win, they were cool losing $15. They're not cool losing, 25 to 50 plus because they want to get the reps in against elite players, right, Trey? But it's not worth, on Monday I put in a $50 entry and I lose, and then the next day I put in another $50 one. Well, if you do that 5 6 days a week, you're losing $200 to $300 a week, right? I mean, so yes, you could say get better, but not everybody has that tons of money, so they kind of played themselves out of the market, Trey, in that aspect. They were charging people a little bit too much. So hopefully next year they go back to um, charging a little bit less. And like Rose said, yeah, no $50 that adds up quick. And $10 to get like five. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Rose. Exactly what you said right there. That I mean, they kind of played themselves out this year. Hopefully, they change it. Hopefully, even like Players Lounge and Gamer Saloon, if that's true on Players Lounge, Gamer Saloon, they need to drop it from $25 to $10 entry for Mutt. And then if you want like the big rollers, keep the big rollers up, right? But not everybody's gonna spend $25 to $50 a tournament tray.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And like we're talking, like when we talk about CFM, I know you obviously you went over, the whole drama of it. But when it comes to, like the mode itself, right? Franchise mode is obviously different than Ultimate Team and play with regular teams for money. Would you say that in a vacuum, right? Like the mode itself, do you think that you enjoy doing that more than you did Ultimate Team, or is it kind of the same for you?
It's pretty it's crazy. I actually talked to a couple pros that said last year I would have been even better than I was in regs and mutt. They think regs fits my style more than mutt. And you know, is that true? I mean, if you went off of history, yes, because the one live event that I ever made was off of regs, right? All the money I made was off of regs. The tournaments back in the day versus Skimbo and Mo and all them, that I got second place against legit pros that like people will say, yeah, they're in the like the upper echelon that I beat. It was regs too. So I think maybe, maybe regs is more of my mode than ultimate team, but they're all a little bit different and it really, really is hard trade to switch between modes. At least for me, like playing regs and then going to mutt is a vastly different game, and they react differently because some have linebackers and in their position that don't react or they didn't react in the past. So I really like if I had to break it down, like now I've become an ultimate team person, but like I would rather do regs overall because you don't have to spend as much money in it and obviously I won more doing it.
Yeah, no doubt. You can never take the Rex team out of Shane got you 11. That's just something that's not gonna happen. So and I do kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the NFL, and something that I've been saying is, and I don't understand why Jared Goff isn't getting more consideration for the MVP. He has more touchdown passes than Josh Allen. He has 10 picks, and Josh Allen only has a little bit. But there was one game on Sunday night where Josh Allen had like four picks. So I mean, if you take that game away, he's probably better statistically than Josh Allen. And people are talking about Lamar Jackson, and they're not even winning their division right now. Meanwhile, Detroit is the best team in football right now by a pretty significant margin, I would say. So, Shane, like, who do you have, and Rose, if you're in the chat, who do you have for MVP right now?
It's really hard to break down on like MVP, at least for me. Like, I'm not really like completely sold on anyone like being way ahead of each other. So like I understand why voters are going one way and then some voters are going the other way. And I understand even with you with Goff. My thing with Goff is I think people like act like he wasn't that good when he was with Sean McVay. Sean McVay made him. Well, now he's in Detroit and he's doing really good. I just think he's kind of an overlooked guy, Trey, if you want to know the truth. So for me right now, the MVP race, I mean, it's tight to me. So it'll see definitely over the next 5 weeks on who separates themselves.
So you're saying that Jared Goff is kind of getting the Russell Wilson treatment from back in the day, to where, whenever Russell Wilson has like an MVP type season, there's like a new flashy toy that kind of comes out and kind of steals the show. Is that kind of what you're getting at there?
Yes, yes. Like you said, Russell Wilson. I think he threw like 38 touchdowns one year to like eight or nine picks, and he didn't even get an MVP vote. So yes, I that's kind of what I'm saying about Goff.
Yeah, no doubt at all. So Shane's undecided. He's kind of waiting for someone to separate themselves. Now, when we go to the Heisman side of things, I'm like, and I'm and I live in Idaho, so Genty's obviously my guy, but I can't go away with Travis Hunter. Like the stuff that he's done, we haven't seen anyone do. He plays every snap. He's had multiple Heisman moments. The forced fumble. I forgot who they play, but at the 1 yard line. So for me, I think it's Travis Hunter by a landslide. Even though Genty put us into the playoffs today, so shout out to Genty on that. But are you still kind of undecided when it comes to the Heisman side of things, or are you decided?
Bro, it's crazy because I'm leaning towards Genty. I don't know. I think I'm saying his name right. Like this guy, I said about the third or fourth game. I believe when he played WSU and ran all over WSU. I'm like, that guy's really, really good. And I don't know if I told you in the podcast, um, but I should have put some money down on him, bro, because he was like plus like 2,500 or something for Heisman at the start of the year, and now it's like obviously the odds are way like more on Vegas and the betters, but I don't know, man, because those two like they're neck and neck. They're doing both doing stuff that you haven't seen right for a long time. I believe they said that Genty hasn't like you haven't had this great of a rusher since. Did they say Barry Sanders, Trey? I think they said Barry Sanders, and I mean Barry Sanders was in college in the early to mid '90s or something like that. I don't even remember when he was in college. I know he retired in like '98 or '99. So actually, probably mid '80s then. Not even the, excuse me, not even the early '90s. I think it was mid '80s when he was in college or something. So you're not seeing something in 40 years, Trey, for a running back. So it's neck and neck.
Yeah, and you're talking about the running backs, and that's another thing too that I've heard a lot of people say about running backs being in the MVP and kind of the resurgence of the running back position. And I don't really buy that. I mean, you have one guy that went to a system to where that's always been how they try to win games is by running and playing good defense. And there's no question about it that Saquon definitely added to Philly. I mean, the impact that he had from Philly um, cannot be understated. But at the same time, I just think that running backs have always been kind of because they do everything right. They run the ball, they control the pace of the game, and they also are huge in pass protection and take a lot of stress off of the quarterback. So, Shane, do you think with the running backs being good this year that we're going to see kind of them become a premier position again in the future?
I do. I think everything comes in full circle, bro. And that goes from everything in life, from politics to sports to life in general. I think you go to one end of the spectrum and then it circles back to the other end, right? So I'll use another example that I'm going to call it out right now. Right now. And in a few years, it won't be as extreme. Will people still do it? Yes, but will it be as extreme? No. Fourth down conversions. I think it's at the extreme level right now and it's starting to die down a little bit. But I think in a few years, teams won't go for it on fourth down as much as they do now or as they did the last couple years. Like the stat lines are already changing. At first, it was like 65% conversion rate on fourth down for this and that, and then it's already down to like 51% because the more data you get, the more stats you get, it changes it. Just like, oh, well, for a while, the Wildcat was winning. Remember the Wildcat offense, Trey? Well, that got adjusted too. And then a running gun offense. I think it'll start to go back where you run a little bit more, Trey. I think the extreme will start to swing back to somewhat, even if it's like 55-45 passing, I think it'll get less extreme.
Yeah, no doubt. And with you being a Seahawks fan, I am curious to ask you this question because, when he played, I was kind of watching, but I wasn't really as locked in. So, would you say that when you have Marshawn Lynch, right? Marshawn Lynch in his prime, and then you also had Sean Alexander. Sean Alexander was the cover athlete in Madden 2007. So, if you took those two guys in their primes, who do you think is the better back overall?
Man, like it's so hard for me because like you could go like, well, picture Marshawn Lynch behind a Hall of Fame offensive line. That's true, right? But then you could be like, dang, picture Sean Alexander with prime Russell Wilson doing the read option. I would prefer Marshawn Lynch because I think he was tougher inside like the 20 to the 20, where I felt like Sean Alexander laid down more. But if you got Sean Alexander inside the red zone, all of a sudden he's trucking people and like being elusive. Like I think Sean Alexander was really really good. If you want to be like, yeah, but look at Marshawn, his numbers went way up for yards per carry when Russell Wilson compared was on the team compared to when he wasn't. That's true too. But I prefer Marshawn Lynch, Trey.
All right, I got a better question for you. Matt Hasselbeck or Geno Smith? That might be a tough one.
I think Matt Hasselbeck. I think Matt
I think.
Hasselbeck's better.
Okay, so Shane's going with Matt Hasselbeck. Matt Hasselbeck. What did he had a pretty good career with the Seahawks, and I think after the Seahawks, didn't he kind of bounced around a little bit? He kind of became like a journeyman quarterback. Is that kind of what his trajectory was?
Yeah, I think he played with like the Colts and the Titans for a couple years and then he retired.
Okay. So and I just thought of another one since we're kind of going through this, and this one might be pretty controversial. So DK Metcalf in his prime or Steve Largent.
Damn, that's a good one, bro. That's a good one. It's wild because like Steve Largent set all these records, right? Even in the NFL, he set NFL records, not just team records. When you could grab, you could jam, you could like tackle the receiver basically, and he didn't have as good as QBs as like even Geno. Geno would have been good for the Seahawks back in the 80s and the early 90s. Like Dave Craig was good, but not really. He was just like part of the Bad News Bears team. They're two different positions, even though they're both wide receivers. Like one, DK is like an outside receiver. Steve Largent to me would be like a slot receiver nowadays. Like he'd be like a Tyler Lockett. I mean, I'll just leave it at this instead. Like I'm playing wussy here. I'll take both of them, Trey.
All right, so Shane's not playing one side of the fence. He's gonna go overall, and Steve Largent. That's another guy too, right? That he was in his prime, and kind of obviously in this area, being from the Northwest, he kind of gets talked about more, but kind of in the grand scheme of things, he's kind of been overlooked. But he also, I think, he was a part of the NFL Top 100 team, and people were upset that he got picked over Terrell Owens. So do you think Steve Largent is another guy that kind of gets overlooked in the grand scheme of things?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. He played on bad Seattle Seahawk teams. I think they went to maybe I think one or two playoffs with him in like whatever however many years he did it. I mean, he was awesome. He's an awesome player. I think he did get overlooked. I think people forget about him unless you're, like you said, from the Pacific Northwest and you're a historian now because it's been 30 plus years. He easily could play nowadays. His route running was crisp. His hands were A plus. He was tough. He was physical for his size. I think that if you plopped him down nowadays on Kansas City Chiefs or Brady led Patriots, he would or Peyton Manning, Indianapolis Colts, he'd be setting historic numbers. Just like Dan Marino. I think Dan Marino would be like just talked about like he was God almost if he played nowadays at quarterback than in the 80s and the 90s.
All right, no doubt. And let's talk about, the Seattle Seahawks right now. So you guys played the Jets, and honestly, the Jets that one kind of got scary there for a second, and then you guys were able to kind of pull away from that one and get your win. And you guys have had a pretty solid win streak. You guys beat Arizona, you beat 49ers. I'm looking now. I think yeah. So the last loss you guys took was the Bills, 31-10. And then you guys go to Arizona. You still got a pretty solid lead. I think you guys are going for the sweep in Arizona, and they're in second place. Obviously, it's a tight division. So I kind of want to ask you this. From the start of the year, is this kind of how you kind of foreseed the year going, or are you kind of pleasantly surprised so far that at the way things are going right now?
My honest truth, I thought they'd be better. And hear me out why, right? You got rid of Pete Carroll at 9-8. If you read the reports of John Snyder, you read the reports of like predictions for the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of people thought that Mike McDonald would lead the team to the playoffs. John Snyder thought that they should be in the playoffs. They shouldn't have missed playoffs last year. They should be better than their 9-8 record. Well, they added to them. They added players. They're 7-5 right now. I will be happy if they get 10 or 11 wins, which that's a good year one for a new coach. And like people are like, yeah, but it's a new coach. He should get to learn. He should get to do this. Right. I agree on that, but I agree on that, but he picked a roster that was pretty good already. Like it's not like Pete Carroll coming in off of Jim Mora, who was 5-12, 4-13, or whatever, and got rid of the whole roster. You have DK, you have JSN, you got you got K9, you got Witherspoon, you got Wolin, you got Love. I mean, you have a really good team. You got a good roster. So like people that want, like I said, people that wanted Pete Carroll gone were jumping for joy at 3-0. When they went to 3-3, they were making excuses that he's a rookie coach and people need to give him time, yada yada. But when they were 3-0, they were throwing in the Pete Carroll fans' faces like, "See, he's much better." And even a lot of the stats are skewed. They were talking about basically, oh, the run defense is so much better, Trey, than last year. They're actually equally bad. The difference is this year the pass defense has been better. It's a huge game, Trey, in Arizona. It goes something like, I believe I read, if the Seahawks go to Arizona Sunday and win, they have a 72% chance of making the playoffs and the NFC West. And if they lose, they only have an 11% chance. Those are huge number splits, Trey.
Yeah, no doubt. That's obviously huge, and hearing you say you expect it to be better, and that's kind of, yeah, I would say I agree with that. Were you kind of surprised? I mean, obviously San Francisco kind of got banged up. Obviously, you McCaffrey for a while, so I mean, were you kind of surprised that San Francisco is kind of playing bad that they are now? And Arizona's kind of doing good as well. So are you kind of surprised with like the other division teams and how they're doing, or kind of what you expected at this point?
It just goes to show that it's hard to win, right? They like my brother's a huge Pete Carroll fan. I like Pete Carroll, not like to the degree my brother does, but like they people have been going on tweets about like right. They've been tweeting about the Seahawks have like the fifth most wins since 2012. The Seahawks had like the fourth most playoff appearances since 2012. They're one of like four teams to win a Super Bowl, like or something like that, or one of five since 2012. Like it is wild how fans, and you can kind of see this with Bill Belichick, Trey, for New England. It's wild how fans get bored with winning and just want to switch, even if the other guy might be a little worse. They just kind of get bored with winning, and like it shows. Like the 49ers, they're maybe a 500 team. McCaffrey's out for the year. Injuries happen, right? So should you fire the 49ers coach? No. Cuz see, that's how ridiculous it is. The last couple years Pete Carroll had it. He had injuries, he had this, and he still went 9-8 last year. And like don't get me wrong, if Mike McDonald leads us to the Super Bowl, hell yeah, that's a Super Bowl ring. That's a Super Bowl championship for my team that I root for, but I think people get bored with winning unless you're winning Super Bowls all the time.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that, and yeah, I kind of got the same impression for Belichick as well. At the same time, though, would you say that you're kind of biased in a way because you're a Pete Carroll kind of guy, or do you just kind of call it how you see it? Because I'm guilty, like no one defends Belichick more than me, so like, would you say that you're kind of on a curve because you're a Pete Carroll guy and you're kind of biased in that regard?
I think everyone has a bias, right, towards other people, to things they like, to things they dislike. Like I'm gonna stick up for you, right? Because I have a biased opinion on you, and I'm just being honest. So like with Pete Carroll, a little bit, but the only reason I get like this more is because a lot of the Seattle Seahawks fans act like Pete Carroll was a bum when factually he wasn't a bum, right? Factually he wasn't a horrible coach, like awful coach. If he was an awful coach, he wouldn't go 9-8. It's kind of like with the Seattle Mariners. I really like Scott Service. He got fired, and everybody's like, "We gonna make the playoffs now." They didn't make the playoffs. They played just the same as if Scott Service was managing. And everybody's like, oh, that's because you're biased. You love Scott Service. I can still break down stats, even if I like somebody, and be honest about them. If Dan Wilson would have led the Seattle Mariners to the playoffs, and I would have been like, yep, he did better than Service with the same roster. Because you have to go off the same roster, because that's only fair, right? Like if the New England Patriots next year add Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, and then at wide receiver they get Jefferson, and they load up on the defense, and Patriots make the playoffs, and then people are like, "I told you that Belichick was old." That's not fair. It's not the same roster. You have to go off of basically the same roster, right? So the Seahawks roster is about the same, but it got improvements that were needed. So to be fair, they should have about 10 wins minimum, right? Because if you're at a 9 win with the same roster, but then you added some improvements, you should have 10 wins or 11 wins. And if Mike McDonald goes 11-6 and they make the playoffs and win a game and then lose, yep, he did better than Pete Carroll. You're absolutely right, he did. And I'm okay admitting that for that. But Mike McDonald's going to have to win for 10 plus years in Seattle. He's going to have to bring us to the Super Bowl twice. He's going to have to win one. Like Pete Carroll's legacy is already set, right? It's just like how I feel like about Scott Service. Now my point was proven. They didn't make the playoffs, the Seattle Mariners. They kind of played like they did with Service. Um, so my point was correct. So even when people were like, "Oh, you're on his nuts," or "You're so biased, you sound like an idiot," I was right. Just like Trey, when I argued about T-Mobile for Seattle Mariners, makes pitchers better in Seattle and makes hitters worse in Seattle because the stadium, the weather, the humidity, the air temperature, all that from the ocean plays a big part in keeping the ball in the ballpark. Sorry, keeping the ball in the ballpark and all that. and everybody were calling me names, bro, on Twitter. I mean, you might have saw that. And then scientists came out, then analysts came out, and they all backed my opinion up, which was factual. So you could be biased but still be honest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt on that. I want to get your opinion on the rookie. I want to know like how's your first round pick, Mister Byron Murphy, doing? And also, has there been any other rookies that came out of this year's previous draft class for the Seahawks that have kind of made an impact that you've seen? And like, do you think just rookies overall? Do you think that Jaden Daniels is a shoe in for Rookie of the Year at this point?
You know, Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle, he was good when he's not hurt. Um, I believe he will be really good. I mean, I'm happy with him. I think that's the only rookie right now playing for the Seahawks. I could be wrong right now. I'm a little tired. I'm drawing a blank. But yes, Trey, I think Jaden Daniels is the rookie of the year by far.
All right, fair enough. And yeah, I agree, of course. And I'm going to be biased too, and I'm going to say Drake May. Drake May, I'm very impressed with him. The other rookies, not so much. Pretty much bust everywhere. I mean, we had one guy, kind of, yeah. But I'm not ready to, even though it's been kind of a rough year for like the other rookies. I'm still willing to kind of give them a chance because it is entirely possible that, they could have a bad year and then kind of bounce back the second year. But, with sports being, so much of what have you done for me lately, I think people just need to hit pause and, kind of realize. So that is what it is. But this has been a good podcast. Covered a lot of stuff, and all that. We appreciate you guys for the support. I've noticed we've been getting some pretty good views coming in. So we appreciate you guys on that, and for like Rose and others that pop in here and check us out on a Friday evening, 10:30 p.m. Pacific time. So that means if you're on the East Coast, it's probably like 1 o'clock in the morning. But I know a lot of people like to listen to these when it's archived that go back. So that's always good. But however you listen, we appreciate it, and we look forward to improving this thing going forward. It starts with consistency, and looking forward to get some more guests on, like D Jones. Shout out to D Jones for the interview he did us a few months back. So really trying to add ideas, and Shane's got more streams coming up, so we appreciate that. And I guess if Shane has nothing else to say, I'll throw it back over to him to close us out for another West Coast podcast. And we'll see you guys a week from Friday.
So, yeah, just like what Trey said, we appreciate you guys. I know, definitely. I've had people say that they like to play it back, when they're doing stuff. So, like, we understand we're not big yet. We have been consistent though this year, very well, in my opinion. Every other Friday. Our next one will be the Christmas edition, December 20th. Maybe Trey can dig up some Santa Claus. Well, yes, dig up some Santa Claus Christmas facts, all that stuff. Maybe a little quiz on Christmas, see how bad I do or he does, whichever we want to do. But the next time will be the Christmas edition. And so, yeah, we will see you guys December 20th at 10:30 p.m. Pacific time. For Trey, I'm Shane. Thank you for listening.